Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. We are going to be finally doing another movie review and a makeup look. I was going to try and do this video yesterday because I wanted to start doing the movie review videos every Monday, and I ended up doing my Try It Tuesday material yesterday just so I could get it out there. So we kind of switched days, but I have a schedule that I wanted to start doing. Single shadow Sunday, movie review, makeup look Mondays, Try It Tuesdays, throwback Thursdays, kind of a thing. Now I don't know if I'll be able to get to all of those every week, but that was kind of where I was going, so we're just switching days. So if that sounds interesting, stick around, make sure you are subscribed, and we're just going to get into it. The movie I'm going to be talking about is Wolves, a little bit. I don't want to do spoilers, but I'm also going to be talking about werewolf movies in general, things I like, things I don't like, just because I don't want to do spoilers, and I don't think I have enough to talk about with just Wolves without. So I'm going to moisturize. I think Wolves came out in 2015. I will look up the year and leave it in the description box. It has, I think his first name is Lucas. He's the kid that was in that You Belong to Me Taylor Swift video. I think he was on MacGyver. I never watched the reboot of MacGyver, but I think he was on that. But he's the main character. He plays, high school senior. He's the quarterback. Has a pretty girlfriend. His life seems fine. And then he, come to find out he's a werewolf. He murders his parents, and it's the very beginning of the movie, so I don't feel like that's a huge spoiler. So the premise of the movie is, he goes on the run. He ends up at a bar, and he's kind of directed to go to this town, and this town is full of secrets. Somebody takes him in. He's kind of hiding out, and then he, slowly finds out what's going on with him. It's a decent, straight to video, low budget horror movie. Like, the werewolf special effects makeup is not bad considering it was straight to video. Jason Momoa is in it. It might be older than 2015 because it was after he was on Stargate Atlantis, but it was before he was Aquaman. So again, I will look up the year, but it could possibly be older than that because I don't remember when Aquaman came out, but he's in it. He plays like the bad guy. He's kind of in charge of the town that he ends up at, and nothing happens without his say-so, and so he does a good job. So it's got a decent cast. The guy that he ends up living with, I'm gonna prime my face like I did in my last Get Ready. I'm gonna try and use that Becca foundation again, and we'll see. I used the Prime Essence this time. I had forgotten that the first time, but way well. I did all the moisture steps this time. So it's interesting to see, because I didn't really know much about Jason Momoa until Aquaman, and then because I knew about Stargate Atlantis, but I didn't really watch it when it was on. I've since gone back and watched it. It's a good show. He's good on that show. He's really young. And I didn't realize, because I came across Wolves on Vudu the other day, and after I got about halfway through, I realized I had seen it probably when it first came out and didn't realize it. Kind of had forgotten about it. I'm actually going to try this blur stick from Iconic Beauty. I got this, I think, in a Try Beauty box. My hands are slippery. I don't know if I'll be able to get it open, but like I said, it's straight to video. It's not a bad, there's actual special effects makeup It's not just, you know, CGI, which is what a lot of them are doing. So I appreciate movies that still have the actual special effects makeup and not just CGI. I should probably start off saying that I'm not necessarily the biggest werewolf fan. Like, I don't hate werewolf movies, but I feel like horror, like diehard horror fans fall into two camps. You're either a werewolf person or you are a vampire person. And I've always been a vampire person, so I've always preferred vampire movies over werewolf films. Not to say that I don't appreciate a good werewolf movie, but like I said, horror fans, I feel like, are in one of two camps. They're either the werewolf camp or they're the vampire camp. But I will list off like the werewolf movies that I really appreciate. Like American Werewolf in London is very iconic, special effects. And that, I think, still to this day, the transformation sequence in that movie is still, I think, regarded as one of the best, even though a movie was made in the 80s. I think I like the Elf primer better than that. That one just kind of feels greasy, but we'll try it. I'm going to let it sit for just a minute. I think that's it. We'll have to go wet a sponge and I will be right back. Okay, well, like I was saying, most, you know, I feel like true horror fan, you fall into one category or the other, but I do like some werewolf movies. The Howling, Wolfen was good. I like the Howling movies. They're really cheesy, but I like all of those Howling movies. And then probably my favorite werewolf movie of all time is probably Ginger Snaps. If you've never seen it, it's worth watching. I like all three of them. The sequel is probably not as good as the third one, but really, really good. And then I do really like the Underworld movies, mainly because there's vampires in there also, but the special effects makeup in Underworld I thought was really good. They actually, again, had people in costumes on stilts. Like some poor, you know, special effects people had to spend, I don't know how many hundreds of hours. Like the werewolf, the latex mask, you know, things that they made for the actors had like 10,000 horsehairs or something like that that they had to put in individually by hand. So I really appreciate the werewolf makeup in Underworld. I think I appreciated it a whole lot more once I found out how much time and effort went into doing the makeup. Like I said, the actors were on stilts and had to learn how to walk and, you know, the choreography and then be in the makeup. And like I said, some poor people had to poke all those hairs in individually. And I just really appreciate the time that goes into something like that. I hate a lot of the CGI effects that they use. It just, I know it's cheaper and I know that's why they do it, because it brings down the cost of the movie, but, and I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant off topic. I used to really like, and I'm going to date myself a little bit here, Sci-Fi years ago. Sci-Fi still makes movies, but years ago, Sci-Fi made really good movies. Well, in the late 90s, early 2000s, Sci-Fi was bought out by USA, the USA Network. And then there was that whole thing where the spelling of the Sci-Fi channel was changed. Well, once USA bought them out, their movie quality that they were putting out went down because it stopped using practical effects and special effects makeup, and everything was done with CGI. And I'm still forever mad because, like I said, years ago, and leave me a comment if you remember, like Sci-Fi used to make some really good like movies for their channel. And then once they were bought out, I hate, and they were the really cheap CGI, because hate all CGI special effects, but the CGI they were doing was like the really bad, cheap. Oh, I'm still mad about it because it's just so disappointing. It's like I said, they used to do some really good movies, and they just don't. And then I don't even have satellite anymore, but yeah, I'm still sad. Still a little bitter. But anyway, even though I am a vampire fan, I do appreciate a few. Like I said, I like The Howling. I like Wolfen. Ginger Snaps, again, is my favorite. If you've never seen it, you are missing out. It is very indie, really well done. It is one of those cult movies. People still talk about it. It's just really, really good. And it's, I don't know, I feel like I was in high school when that movie came out. That's how long ago. And it's still, people still talk about it. It's still good. I will say, if you've never seen it, it's not one of those where it has a super happy ending, but all three of them are good. I like the series. Probably don't need to do full face, but it's all right. I'm gonna try this with a little bit of the Set and Refresh, and I'm actually just gonna use the sponge for this today. I'm filming this in the evening, so I'm probably just gonna take this off so it doesn't matter if it's... I still think this foundation looks decent. I'm not a huge full coverage fan, just because it emphasizes, I'm a little bit older, and it emphasizes the lines on my face, makes it look like I have wrinkles if I'm not careful. So I don't have a lot of things that I need to cover up, so I don't mind a medium coverage. I am not a full coverage person by any means, so I thought it wore really good. I had it on for a good 12 hours. I probably should have taken some video or something and kind of shown it. I'm just looking at my nail. I had my nails done by a girl right before everything got shut down, and she hasn't done them, I don't think, too many times, so I'm seeing imperfections, but that's how people learn, so I can't be too quick. I'm going to try this Becca Set and Refresh powder that we got in BoxyCharm. I don't really like this powder, to be honest. It oxidizes and turns a little bit dark. I'm going to set under my eyes with my ColourPop because you cannot put the Becca under your eyes. It will get dark, but I want to see, because I probably the Becca would probably be good with the Makeup Revolution because I did go lighter with that, almost my exact skin tone, so I could probably get away with using it with that foundation, but I'll have to try it. Anyways, back to the werewolf movies. I'm trying to think of ones that I don't like. Even Cursed with Christina Ricci and Joshua Jackson. I like that movie. Wes Craven did it. And that was one that movie was made and then it was shelved and then was released years later. I think they reshot the whole movie. They recast some of it. It's kind of a weird situation. I think I'm going to use this Jeffree Star brush. This is normally the one that I use to dust away, but I don't like that brush for that. Definitely doesn't have the cooling sensation anymore. It just feels like powder, and it doesn't have the greatest of smells. It doesn't smell bad, it's not rancid, but it's definitely not as nice as when I first opened it. It's one of those I probably need to just use it or get rid of it because it doesn't have the, this is one of the that's made with like water, but definitely it doesn't have the cooling sensation any longer. But I want to see how it looks because the first time I used it, like I thought it was decent, and then I used it again and it oxidized bad. So just trying to see how I like it. But I can't think of any. Leave me a comment down below if there's any horror movies, not like horror movies in general, any werewolf movies that are either your favorites or you absolutely hated. Like I think like Dog Soldiers, I don't remember being a great movie. I know I saw it. Obviously it wasn't that great if I can't really remember. It's, you know, one of those government program movies. I remember, I know I watched it, but wasn't worth remembering the plot all that much apparently. Yeah, leave me some comments of, yeah, either your favorite or absolute like movie you, like werewolf movie you hated the most. At one point, I did want to go to school for special effects makeup and do like horror movie type makeup, do the latex and the blood and the gore, but I went into the Navy and had kids. But it's one of those, it's such a dying industry, unfortunately, because it is cheaper to do things CGI. It's really hard to get into. Really, really, truly is. You've got to be like amazing, out like above and beyond, and you have to really, like, it's hard to get, in order to make money, you really have to get into some of like the big like teams, like Rick Baker type status, and that's really, really hard to do. So I kind of just gave up on it. I don't even really practice the theater makeup anymore. I thought about practicing it again, but I haven't. I do have a bottle of liquid latex for doing like your own little prosthetic pieces somewhere in my house. So I could potentially start doing more theater style makeup, face painting and all that business. But yeah, I'm definitely a vampire fan. One of my favorite series, like I said, I do like Underworld, but I don't consider Underworld I consider it a vampire movie with werewolves in it. I don't consider it, which is probably unfair because it is pretty split. And then Rise of the Lycans is a werewolf movie with vampires in it, but the Blade movies are probably my all-time favorite. I've heard that they are going to do a fourth one. I think, well, I had heard they were going to reboot it, and then I had heard that Wesley Snipes was going to come back, so I don't know. I really wouldn't mind him doing one more. I mean, his character is supposed to age like a human, so I think they could totally use him still, but I know they did talk about rebooting that with another actor, but as long as it's done well, I'm not opposed to a reboot. It did kind of annoy me that all three of the movies had different directors because there's very different tones if you watch them in order all on the same day, because you kind of feel a little like discombobulated almost, because like the first one's decently dark, the second one's real dark, and I feel like the third one's almost borderline campy because they had different directors. I'm just grabbing random things out of, I didn't really have much in mind. And the other movie I wanted to talk about, I watched, and we can talk a little bit about anthology horror. I watched, it's called Body Bags. I had never seen it before. I think it was made in the late 80s. maybe early 90s. Again, I will look up the dates of both of these that I'm like primarily focusing on. And it is an anthology series. John Carpenter plays a character, and he also directs the first movie. Tobe Hooper, who did the Night of the Living Dead movies, does the second one, and I forget who directs the third one. It might be Wes Craven, because Wes Craven actually had a little bit part in the first one, but John Carpenter plays this like really creepy mortician who's kind of like, you know, the crypt keeper, kind of narrates the beginning of each movie. So I'm gonna do kind of a green and gray. I think there's a dog here in my mouth. I look to kind of go, because the cover is very lime green, gray. So I think for that, we're gonna do, I'm gonna use my Urban Decay Electric and my smoke palette. My friend Lauren gave me this one. Neither one of these are available. Like I said, my friend Lauren gave me this, but this palette is available on Poshmark. And so is this. This is actually, that's where I got this. I didn't buy this from the store when it first came out. I got mine on Poshmark. I've used it, but you can see there's still quite a bit of product. It's still good. So if anybody's still interested in the original electric palette, it is still available on Poshmark. So that's, oh, I got it. That's the only reason I'm using these, because you can get them. You just can't get them brand new, and I want to use these. So that's what we're doing, because there are some people that are just here for the movie reviews and could care less what makeup I'm doing, and then there's people that are just here for the makeup and really could give a poop about what I'm talking about. So for eye primer today, I'm switching it up. I'm using my CoverGirl lid lock. I haven't used this in a long time. This is a little bit, I feel like, of a gripping primer, but it's definitely a good drugstore. I pretty much solely only use my, this is a little more silicone-y than I remember. Maybe because I used too much. I don't know. It's been a while since I've used this, but this is a good primer. Like I said, I feel like this has a little bit of a grip to it compared to some of the others, but it's a good drugstore primer. So I thought I would use it today, because like I said, I always use my MAC paint pot, and I'm sure people are tired of seeing that because I do own other eyeshadow primers. But anyway, I want it, yeah, it does dry down. It's a little bit tacky feeling. Okay, thought it was crazy, but so I want to do a gray, kind of lime green to go with Body Bags. I won't give too much away. The first one is about a girl works at a gas station. People start dying. The second one, it's about a guy that gets hair transplants, and there's aliens. And then the third one, this guy loses his eye and has to get an eye implant. And Mark Hamill is in the third one. But like anthology horror movies are very hit and miss for me. Like ABCs of Death, and this may shock people, I don't think I've ever seen all of ABCs of Death, and only because it's not like there's subtitles. So a lot of times I'll put a movie on and fall asleep to it, and if it's foreign, obviously I can listen to it, but I don't know what they're saying, so it makes it a little bit difficult to put those kinds of movies on if I'm really, really tired. Now with Body Bags, I was awake and I actually like sat and watched the whole thing, which is rare for me. Mike will tell you I usually just like will watch, you know, 20 or 30 minutes, fall asleep, and then I'll watch the rest of it later if it's something I'm interested in. But yeah, I haven't seen all of ABCs of Death, and then there's a new one on Netflix. It's like How to Survive Death. I don't know. It's an anthology. It looks pretty gory. It won a bunch of independent, you know, horror awards. But again, it's, you know, not all of the movies are in English. So that's the only reason I haven't seen that yet, because I have to be in a position to like sit up and watch it, or at least have my glasses on through part of it and then just stop it when I'm ready to go to bed. So I haven't, and I feel like you have to be in the mood to want to read subtitles, and I'm not opposed to reading subtitles. I probably have mentioned this. I'm not a fan of horror movies with subtitles, so I haven't seen the original Grudge movie. I don't dislike horror movies, but when there's going to be a bunch, especially like ghost movies or like serial killer movies where you really gotta like pay attention to what's happening, it can be difficult to like read, especially if they're talking really fast. And I feel like you miss things in the background. Like I had to watch Pan's Labyrinth, and that's not necessarily a horror movie. I mean, I think it is considered a horror fantasy type movie, dark, but it's in Spanish. Guillermo del Toro, the guy that directed the second Blade movie, he's from Mexico City or something like that. So the movie's in Spanish, but they talk so flippin' fast. You gotta watch every second or you miss the dialogue, and then you can't really look around. So I had to watch that movie twice because I was like, and you have to be able to like sit there and watch because they are talking fast. And so I prefer to watch them dubbed in English just because, like I said, it's distracting. I feel like I miss, because I love the visual effects and the special effects in Pan's Labyrinth, and the makeup that he had done for that movie was just amazing. And so it's, when they're talking so fast, it's like I can't see, I'm missing things, and I can't look at the makeup and appreciate the scenery because I have to read every word or I don't know what's happening. And so yeah, that's my only like, and I think that's part of it with the ABC of Death and the other movie, because I know going into it that it's not in English. As I said, anthology movies, I don't necessarily hate them. They're not my favorite. I feel like you either love them or you don't. And it's ones that I was actually surprised I like were the VHS series, because I hate's a strong word. I dislike the movies like Paranormal Activity where they're shot with the camcorder. And again, those are ones you either love those kinds of movies or you don't. I don't. I feel like I can't see. It's cheesy because I know what I'm watching is fake, because they try to portray it like it's actual found footage. And I'm like, we all know it's not, so that's stupid. And that's a personal preference thing, because again, with the found footage type movies, you either like those or you don't, and they're just not my favorite. I've only seen one of the Paranormal Activities, and it was like number 5. It was only because my ex-boyfriend bought it for me, and I felt obligated to watch it, because I did like the Blair Witch Project, but that was it. Anyways, I digress. But I did like VHS, and I saw all of them. Was there like 3 of them? I watched them all. I don't mind those. They're in English, so you don't have to read subtitles, but the quality of the found footage isn't bad. So I think that's why I was able to kind of get past it, because I remember I like clicked on it and was like, oh, it's one of those movies, so I'm not watching that. But I did go back and watch them all later, I think, because I was bored. And they are good. So if you do like anthology movies and you've never seen the VHS series, I think they used to be on Netflix. I'll try to look and see if they still are. I don't know. I'm pretty sure that's where I watched them, was on Netflix. I'm sorry, I'm in the smoke palette. I used Asphalt and Mushroom, a little bit of Kinky, and then Blackout. So if anybody's curious. So I used Asphalt. I blended it out with Mushroom, the silver. I used a little bit of Kinky under the brow. And then I'm putting black out in the outer corner. I just realized I didn't do my eyebrows. That's all right. I'll probably put just a little bit of brow powder on here in a second, but I did like body bags. I like Vault of Horror was made in the 70s, and it has like the old school horror actors, like I think like I forget, like Lon Chaney or Boris Karloff, you know, like that type of old school horror actors. I think I don't know if Vincent Price was in that or not. It's one of those where these people get like trapped in this vault or crypt, you know, at a cemetery, and they are telling like horror stories type of thing. It's, like I said, it was made in the 70s, but I liked that. Like, my favorite anthology movie is probably Twilight Zone, and again, I'm dating myself. I'm a little bit older than I look, so it I love Twilight Zone, the movie, and I love Creepshow 1 and 2. Those are probably my favorite, like, anthology movies, if I were to have to pick ones. So I don't hate anthology movies. There was a good one on Netflix. I think it was called Holidays, where it was, you know, from a horror perspective, but they did one on each holiday. I think Seth Green was in one of them, if I remember correctly. And then there was a Christmas one. I haven't seen all of it, where they do one on like Krampus. I think it's Christmas Horrors, but that's another anthology, like short type movie. I watched part of it. That's one that I like started and I fell asleep and then never went back and watched. So I'm curious if anybody else likes the anthology horror, because again, I feel like you either like them or you don't, and there are ones that I do like, but they're not necessarily my favorite go-to, and I have to be in the mood to watch them. Again, like I said, especially if they're not in English. And I don't want to, I always feel like I have to defend myself when I say that, because I don't hate foreign movies. I just, with horror movies, I prefer them to be dubbed in English. Like, that is 100% personal preference. And I got so much flack from people when I used to be more into like the discussion boards in the horror community and stuff, because the original Grudge and the original, you know, Ring movies, and there's a lot of like really good Japanese horror movies that I'm sure I have missed out on because I refuse to watch them because they're not dubbed in English, but it's distracting for me. So, and that again is a personal preference. Not everybody is going to share that preference, and that's fine. Like I said, I've gotten a lot of flack. It's like, how can you like horror movies and you never watch this? And, well, I just lost the brush I was using. I just don't like reading subtitles on horror movies. I'm sorry. So, I'm sure I've missed out, but so let me know if you like anthology or how you feel about the found footage movies. Like I said, not a fan of Paranormal Activity. Haven't seen any of them. And there's people that have horror channels that I really respect that love the Paranormal Activity movies. Like, you either like and I've never seen Quarantine either. I watched like 10 minutes and that movie is so dark, where they're like stuck. It's the reporter that's like stuck in the apartment, and I think it's like a zombie virus or something. I don't know. It was so dark. And that's how I kind of felt with the Blair Witch Project a little bit. And the Blair Witch Project is one of the first ones, and even though I liked that movie when it came out, that's another one you have to be in the mood to watch it because it's so dark. The end, where they're like running, kind of makes me nauseous. I actually prefer, and this sounds really bad, the sequel to the Blair Witch Project, because the second movie is like an actual movie and it's not found footage like it's an actual like regular movie. And so for me, even though the storyline's a little bit stupid, it's a little bit easier to watch because it's an actual movie and you're not like looking at grainy footage like, what am I looking at? Like that's I tried to watch Quarantine. Like I said, I made about 10 minutes and I was like, it's too dark. The second she was in the apartment and it was dark, I was like, I've never seen Cloverfield. I just have gotten to a point where it's a little, like I said, it's a little bit nauseating, and I'm not somebody that gets motion sickness often. So from the electric palette, I'm going to use Thrash. This like acidy, limey green shade. If I can find, I have a better flat brush. So we talked about the werewolf movies. Like I said, I'm not necessarily, but I do like, and going through these, I do like more werewolf movies than I realize. Like I said, I've never hated werewolf movies, but I would always, you know, like I said, growing up, you know, horror fan, I always felt like you had to fall into one of two camps, and I always considered myself in the vampire camp. But although in Twilight, I was Team Jacob, not Team Edward, so. But it's just because I thought Taylor Lautner is better looking than Robert Pattinson. Not that I think he's bad looking, but if I was going to date one in real life, it would have been Taylor Lautner. So, and some of that may have been my tastes have changed as I've gotten older, because I have found myself watching more like werewolf movies. I've always liked the creature movies. I haven't seen the new Creature from the Black Lagoon. I saw that weird, like in D1, like M. Night Shyamalan did, Shape of Water, but I think it's called Creature, where it's like a sequel to the Creature of the Black Lagoon. I still haven't seen that, and I would like to watch that. But like I said, I think some of it is me just getting older and my tastes changing some, probably. But I do still like a good vampire movie. And then I'm going to put a little bit of Freak, I'm getting blue on me. Freak is this green here. So let me know what your favorite type of horror movie is. Like, I've always been a little bit partial to slasher movies, but like I love, like Scream, the Scream series is probably one of my favorites. Halloween, the original ones. I love Jamie Lee Curtis. She's one of my favorites. I've seen all of her horror movies, like The Fog, Terror Train. You know, if you've seen that movie, that is you gotta hunt for that movie. But I liked slasher movies when I was in high school, which I don't think is like that uncommon, probably. And I'm going to put a little bit more of Asphalt to kind of help blend. These don't have to look perfect, but I feel like I got more of that darker green on this side than I did on this side. My eyes never look symmetrical, so it's fine. So don't ever feel bad that if yours don't, because mine don't ever. It's fine. All right. I think I'm going to use a little, there's a silver in here called Revolt. It's definitely a lot more of like a true silver compared to like the grungy silver in the smoked palette. So I'm just going to put this kind of in the tear duct. So you can see, like, looking at my eyebrows, why I overdraw them with the pencil, because this is just filling it in with the powder and on my actual shape, and they're just so small, thin. They are doing another Scream movie. I'm not mad about that because like I said, I like the Scream movies. I don't hate any of them. It's one of my favorite series is still. So I'm excited that they're doing more. I haven't, as long as the original cast keeps coming back, when they stop and they start like just making them with other people, I'll stop watching them. But as long as Neve Campbell is willing to come back, I will watch them and support them because I like her in those movies. Like that, the original Scream movie was one of my favorite movies when I was in high school. I watched that stupid movie over and over, and I remember my mom let me rent the second one when it came out on DirecTV. Like we rented it on the TV, and I watched it like 3 times because you have it for like 24 hours. And I watched it, and my dad's like, why are you watching this again? I was like, it was good. And then the third one, I remember my mom took me to see it at the theater. And my mom is not the biggest horror movie fan, but she knew like how excited I was for it. And I remember my mom took me to see Jason X at the theater. And then she also took me to see Halloween Resurrection, where they're doing like the reality show, and she was so embarrassed because there's a scene in that movie I remember where the lady like she walks upstairs and she gets her head chopped off, and it like rolls down the stairs, and I started laughing because it was just bad. I feel like I didn't set my face all the way over here, but that's all right. Anyways, her head rolled down the stairs, and it was funny because it was clearly fake. Like you could tell that it was a fake head, and obviously it's not going to be the actress's head, but some fake heads look more real. It didn't look realistic, my point. And so I started laughing because, and my mom, like people were looking, and my mom was like, stop laughing. I'm not laughing because she got her head chopped off. I'm laughing because it looks really bad. But I think my mom thought I was laughing because she got her head chopped off. But she's like, I'm never taking you ever again. But she did, because I'm pretty sure Jason X came out after that movie did. I'm just going in with Urban Decay's Heavy Metal Glitter and Distortion. And I'm just putting that where the lime is, just to make it sparkly. I'm just playing here with this at this point. Like I said, I wanted to do something. I was surprised about Body Bags. I really was not expecting to stay up and watch that whole movie, and I'm like circling back around to kind of where we started initially. I got off topic a little bit, but I feel like I'm kind of boring and it's hard to talk about one thing for a really long time, so I try to interject other stuff. But anyways, I wasn't planning on staying up and watching that whole movie, but I liked it and ended up staying up till like 11:30 because it was good. It was interesting. So we got some glitter. Put a little bit on the silver. And we'll put some coming down. And I do have a silver glitter, but I like distortion a lot. Again, I got this on Poshmark. I swear Poshmark should start, like, would be nice, because I've gotten, let me know if you want me to do another updated, like, what I've gotten on Poshmark video, because I can definitely do that, because I've gotten a lot of eyeshadow palettes. So this is my, smoky lime green homage to the cover of Body Bags. And I will try and have like movie covers actually in the thumbnail this time. I usually try to do that with my movie reviews, but excuse me, it's been so long since I've done one. I'm going to try and use the Starlux Pro liner. It's one of those where it's got the little stamper on one side and the felt. If you've watched my makeup videos, you know I have a hard time doing wings with felt liners. That's why I don't really use drugstore eyeliner, because they're all felt, other than like the pen ones, not the potted ones that have an actual brush. And Makeup Revolution makes a decent one, but even that one sometimes I struggle with a little bit. If I was going to recommend any drugstore liner, it would probably be that one, just because out of all of them, I can actually do a wing with it, but it's not the easiest time I've ever had, like with this one, where I feel like it looks bad. But I struggle using felt liners. It's just, they're stiff. I learned how to do wings with the Kat Von D tattoo, and that is a brush, and that is probably the most user-friendly like liner you're ever gonna use. And so when you get used to the brush tips, trying to use these felt liners that are stiff is just not a good time. Because there's just no give. Like, it's black, but I feel like it's a very stiff pen. And I'm sure there's people out there that only use felt tips and don't have a problem and probably think I'm insane, but I think maybe if you learned how to do wings with the felt liner, it'd probably be easier. Whereas I did not learn how to do wings with a felt liner. And then this side looks different than this side. That's the other issue I run into. Just with liner in general, my wings never look symmetrical. And just the same with eyebrows. I want them to look like they're related. They don't need to look identical. But I grabbed this because it's got the little star stamper, because I thought that might be cute with this. I don't know. Again, I'm just plain, so there we go. That's cute. The stamp side's still, I think that's why I kept this, because I liked the star stamper, because I know I didn't keep it for the other end, but I was able to get some sort of a wing on, so it's something. But I don't hate this eye look. I think it's fun. I like lime green. It's one of my favorite like green shades, and then I like the gray with it. So I think this is a pretty color combination. I do have a lime green like pressed glitter that I was tempted to use, but I'm not gonna keep this makeup on. Probably if I was gonna wear this all day, I probably would have used the pressed glitter instead of distortion, or used them together, but the distortion is easier to come off. So yeah, we covered a lot of movies. So let me know, out of all the movies, like the main ones, wolves, body bags, those are the two main ones. Has anybody seen either one of those? Are they interested in watching them? Like I said, Jason Momoa's in Wolves, so if you like him and you want to see him play a bad guy, if you just like him in general, it's good, because I saw Wolves before I even really knew who he was, and then went back and saw him in other things, and then I was like, oh, like I said, I got about 15 minutes into it and was like, oh, I've seen this before. I watched this whole movie. Like I said, it may have come out in 2008. I want to say it might, 2015 might be a stretch, like it might have been 2008 time frame, but let's do Swept Lip. Could do Sparkly. I feel like that's too much. Unicorn Blood. I can't even see. Starfish. These are all like bright shades. let's just do this one from Bite. This is Cocoa. This is just a nude. I so appreciate that they changed their packaging, and the outer packaging reflects the shades instead of having them all black, if anybody. Because they used to do, and they probably still do. So I've got like 8 of these black ones, and I got to open every single one because I don't remember what shade is which, but the new holiday set, the outer packaging matches the shade, and I really appreciate that they did that. So I don't know if I've used this one. That's a pretty nude. I like this look. So let me know what you guys thought of the makeup look. Let me know what you thought about the movies we talked about. I was kind of all over the place. I apologize. It's been a really long time since I've done a movie review. And normally when I do the movie reviews, I just do my eyes to kind of keep it shorter. But I decided to do a full face and kind of talk about 2 different films. So showcase 2 different films. We talked about a lot of films, but so this was longer than they typically are. Leave me comments and let me know if you like me just doing the eyes and keeping it shorter, or if you don't mind me doing the full face and dragging it out a little bit. Let me know what people prefer, and I can do either. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I love talking about horror movies, 80s movies, 80s horror movies. So those are typically, I either do 80s or horror or 80s horror. Those are generally the movies that I review, and try and do makeup looks kind of themed with the movie. So if that's something interesting, definitely make sure you are subscribed so you can come back. And yeah, I appreciate everybody being here. I still have 2 active giveaways on my channel, the BoxyCharm Premium and the makeup that I have purchased recently. Both of those have active giveaways, so make sure you're subscribed and go enter those 2 giveaways. And I will see everybody in my next video, hopefully. Bye, everyone.